in such a way that producers can move their product from one location to other with relative ease. Of course, the other critical challenge for them is power. Like we are aware, power alone constitutes between 30 to 40% of the average cost of production. A situation whereby a company runs 24 hours on generating sets, there is hardly any way it can compete with imported, substitutes or alternatives. So this makes their own prices to be a little high and makes them find it very difficult to compete with imported products. So these, to me, are basic issues. And of course, another one has been that of issue of policy, what we call policy somersault. Today, you say, okay, you ban the importation of rice. Yeah, maybe within another couple of months again, you lift it. Yeah, and a lot of people have now gone to invest in acquiring equipment for rice processing. And with the way, because of the infrastructure problem and some other issues, their prices may not be able to compete with the smuggled or, items taken in without paying, maybe necessary duties and what have you. So there is a need for policy consistency, if large enterprises will really thrive in this country.
With small and medium enterprises, technical competence has always been an issue. Would you say the same of large enterprises?
Fortunately, the large enterprises are more organized. A good number of them, there is better corporate governance. For a good number of them, they have a very strong management team. Very strong management team. Competent and qualified, well structured. So to a large extent, the large enterprises are better, in terms of the operational dynamics. Most of them have very clear business model. They have a very clear business plan. And they have relatively good financials. So large enterprises, the way we are structured here, doesn't have so much problem in terms of the technical management. And a lot of them have been in operation for quite some time. So they've really acquired the core competence to be able to manage their projects. So most of the problem with developing SME, you don't find them in the large enterprise. But in fact, that's part of the reason why we believe the way to go is to have linkage between the large enterprises and the SME, so that the large enterprises can also render some support to the SMEs that either supplying them some input or some raw material. A lot of the SMEs are producing raw material for large enterprises. And we believe that through that kind of linkage arrangement, the large also will be able to support the SME. At least one basic thing is that they will have a ready off-taker for their product, and they can also even handhold them, support them by way of capacity building to be able to overcome some of their challenges. But for large enterprise, technically, I think they are doing fairly okay.
Well, now that you have talked about linkages between large enterprises and SMEs, what areas have you identified that you think that new investors or even existing ones can begin to look at to make profit?
Yes. As a development, banker, if I were to advise the government, I think one will allude to even the plan being put in place already by the government by placing priority on the agro-processing sector. Because we have a lot of these materials being produced locally in abundance. And adding value to them, not only for local consumption, but for export, is the right way to go. Because agri is the mainstay and still remains the mainstay of Nigerian economy. Beyond that, we also have a lot of solid mineral deposits all across the country. What we need in that particular area is a well-structured, arrangement in such a way that clear policies are put in place, and to attract investors, both local and foreign, to be able to come and play in that sector, because we have the solid mineral group now is so, sector is so unorganized. But one is happy that the current administration is putting in place structure to make sure that the solid mineral sector becomes well organized and positioned, to be able to. So for me, one will advise the government that we should just put in place policies, put in place infrastructural facility, which is a major problem anyway. If these are done, I believe that harnessing the potential in the agri and solid mineral sector will take the country, to the promised land.
What are the major indicators that you look at before you grant loans to a large enterprise?
Yes, what do we look at? Incidentally, credit in terms of process and in terms of requirements, basically the same, both for large and small. The only difference is that for small, you want to make the criteria as simple as possible, given their level of operation. But because large are well organized, we expect that the business model is right. We also expect that there is a very strong management team in place. Because without a good management, there is no way such a project can thrive. And apart from that, we want to make sure also that the sources of financing are clearly spelled out and clearly identified, even at the point of our processing the loan. Because the project cannot be financed with loan alone. There will also be reasonable source of equity which have to be verified and be confirmed. And apart from that, market is very important. In fact, when we started our career, the first thing we do when we are doing credit is a market survey first. Because if there is no market for a product, there is no need going into it. So market also is very critical. So we look at, is the business model right? Is there a strong team to manage the project? Where will they get their raw materials from? Then what's the assurance of market? Then the financing, is it already concretized? So once all these are in place, I believe we are ready to go.
Is there anything the Bank of Industry can do to insulate your clients from surges in foreign exchange? For instance, a client of yours told me that the price of dollar had changed by the time he got money from you to purchase a particular equipment abroad. And so he had to source for funds elsewhere to shore up that deficit by the time he was ready to purchase that equipment. What can you do to help your clients in this regard?
Just like where we started, this is a structural problem. It's a fundamental economic problem. And except you begin to add value to what you produce locally and be in a position also to export and earn foreign exchange, there is no shortcut about this. We can't continue to depend on import and then think that we'll have easy access to foreign exchange. So the government is moving the right direction by coming out with policies, coming out with budget that will promote adding value to our local raw material in such a way that we can export and have foreign exchange. And except we continue in this line, making sure that every effort in terms of policy direction, in terms of budget, in terms of tariff, so many measures that we encourage, export, so that we can earn adequate foreign exchange. It's going to be difficult, to insulate the economy from this surge in foreign exchange. So the issue is not a micro matter, it's a macro matter, not limited to the individual company. It's a national issue. And except we get to a position that we can begin to promote a lot of industries. And let me say, by the way, that when the refinery and the fertilizer project being promoted by Dangote in the next couple of years come into operation, because we also supported this project through the Central Bank Intervention Fund. By the time they come on stream, we believe that also we added. You know how much forex is being expended on importation of refined petroleum products. So if we start producing most of these products locally, look at how much is being expended on importation of rice. Okay? Look at how much is being expended, on importation of even textile materials. So as long as we are highly import dependent, it's going to be difficult to insulate the economy from foreign exchange fluctuations.